Hello Internet, so nice to see you. Before we start with the video, I just published a new free ebook on how to sound great with the pentatonic scale, so check it out here. And now, let's answer your questions.
I love your videos, but this one doesn't make sense. You've already said in the opening of the video that in equal temperament, G sharp and A flat have the same exact pitch/frequency. If they were different notes, we'd have more than 12 chromatic notes available, which we don't, as long as we're talking about our contemporary 12-tone music system. The name of the note might change based on the context, but that's just it. A context. It's still the same pitch.
I see what you mean, but the problem here is that a note, it's not a pitch, okay? A pitch is a physical frequency. We agree that G sharp and A flat, okay, have exactly the same pitch. If I play these in isolation with nothing around, they sound absolutely the same. The frequency of vibration is exactly the same. Good. But the problem is that a note, it's not a pitch. A note, it's how your brain interprets this pitch. Because, let's face it, music does not exist without listeners. Music is the effect that those sounds make on your brain. And your brain has a number of idiosyncrasies when it perceives stuff. We know, for instance, that if we can create optical illusions so that people can draw something or show you something and you see things that don't exist. Okay? We need to take this into account when we make art, for instance, because your perception of color, for instance, is completely screwed up depending on what color you put in the background and all this kind of thing. Good. In music, your perception of notes has the exact same thing, okay? This very same pitch will sound different depending on the context around. And the problem is complex, okay? But it's already being solved by this kind of strange notation that we have with sharps and flats. Whenever formally you would write an A flat, this note sounds in a specific way to your brain. And whenever we write formally G sharp, it's because this note sounds in a different way to your brain when you perceive this sound. The pitch is the same. A computer will probably perceive it the same way. Maybe. Or maybe not. Okay, but if I play only that thing, I record it on a microphone, I put it on my computer and I measure the frequency, it's exactly the same, the pitch is the same. But my brain gives it a different meaning, gives it a different emotion, okay? The sharp note feels raised, the flat note feels lowered, okay? And you will notice that if you go to that video again and listen to the examples, okay? And yes, you will recognize it's the same pitch, but you will recognize that this pitch is colored in a slightly different way. Context does matter, and that's why we have two different words, pitch and note, precisely to recognize these different. Pitch is the measurable thing. Note, it's what's happening in your brain. And tell you what, people are not there to measure the frequency. People are there enjoying it. So what matters is the emotional impact of that note, and that's covered by this difference between sharps and flats.
It's absolutely useful to rearrange the notes of a simple lick, because as I hear with a bit of permutation, there's so very many possibilities one can choose to make their own way of using those notes. It also can feel very much like an algorithm exercise, which could, though I don't mean that it should, feel for some that it's yet another rote mechanical way of expression. Again, I say this while not really subscribing to the perspective. It was just something that struck me. Cheers, and thanks so much for all you do.
In two words, the comment says that if some people think that music theory takes away from their creative spark, it's because they think that music theory is just an algorithm to churn out music. And tell you what, this is not even wrong. It's true. We have a series of algorithms to churn out music, and part of it ends up in music theory, and this is part of music theory. But so what? Let's say you are a chef, okay? Let's say you're a cook, okay? You have a book of recipes. And what is that? It's a book of algorithm to create food, okay? But nobody will ever says that any kind of chef does everything mechanically, or having a book of recipe will kill the creative spark. You can change it. You can choose the one you want. Having a book of recipe does not mean that you have to make beef bourguignon today at all cost, okay? You can make something else. Having a book of recipe in music theory does not mean that you have to compose in key, or you have to compose classical music or counterpoint or anything else. You can do whatever you want. If we already have a recipe for what you want to do, this saves you time, and then you can always change the recipe. So yeah, it's completely true It is completely true. Music theory is a collection of algorithms. But you pick the algorithm. Because rather than thinking about the single notes every time or the single chords every time, you can work with higher level ideas like composing in key or out of key, or composing using different kinds of chords, or all these kind of things. I think it's great. And if you don't agree, I think you're in the wrong channel, okay? But that's what music theory is. And some people will like it, and some people will not like it, and that's okay. It takes